Hello and welcome to another edition of Leafless, Not Lifeless. I'm Sharon Benjamin. Thank you so much for joining. As always, I have a wonderful special guest today, and I'm sure you will be inspired. She's a young lady who is quite inspirational. Ssanyu Lukoma, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so happy that you could fit me into your busy schedule. You're a senior and you're working on those college applications and just that whole piece. So thank you so much. Uh, Ssanyu is very inspirational. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a broadcaster, she's a basketball player, she's in the homeschool honor society, and the list goes on and on. So we're going to talk to her, and she's going to tell us all about some of the things she's doing. She started an organization. I guess I'll call it an organization. She'll talk more about it. But at any rate, Ssanyu, what is it about you that inspired you to start Brown Kids Read?
Brown Kids Read was born from seeing a problem in society, which was the disproportionate amount of representation in children's literature when it came to minority main characters. So I had a conversation with my friend when we were about 12 years old, and he was explaining to me why he did not like to read anymore. And the reasoning was that he did not see young Puerto Rican boys like him represented in the books that were presented to us in the school system. And after this conversation, I knew that his experience wasn't unique to him, that it was a problem that was spread across the country. So many children had experienced this. And because my parents intentionally provided me with diverse literature when I was younger, whether it be books featuring strong Black women or books that are showing me different places around the world and different people's experiences, I wanted to show everybody the importance and the value of reading different stories. So I combined seeing that problem and that conversation with my friend with my love for entrepreneurship. And before I founded Brown Kids Read, I had both a jewelry business and a party entertainment business. So I had dabbled a little bit in being my own boss and running a business before. So I just took a couple of those skills, and I had some very great mentors in my life as well. So seeing that problem and combining my love for entrepreneurship was how I created Brown Kids Read.
That's awesome. What did I tell you, listeners and viewers? You have more to come. Just wait. So, Ssanyu, so I think you touched on it a little bit in your introduction right now, but you decided to call it Brown Kids Read rather than Brown Girls Read.
I I wasn't really considering Brown Girls Read. I was more wondering if I wanted to put the word brown in it. So when I founded Brown Kids Read, and the mission of Brown Kids Read is to motivate all children, but especially children of color, to read more diverse literature. So when I was coming up with the title or the name of the organization, I had a bit of input from both my parents, my godparents, different people in my life who are trying to help me make it as great as possible. And a couple of the points that were brought up in terms of the name Brown Kids Read was that the the word brown in the title could be exclusive, and I had to grapple with that. I had to pray about it a lot because I was wondering if Brown Kids Read was going to deter other kids away from the mission, when the point of it actually is to focus on brown kids, because that's where the lack is. That's where the books are not reaching. I mean, 70% of the books in the US children's publishing industry are featuring Caucasian main characters or animals. The remainder of that 30% is split up between 6 different minorities. That's a huge issue, and a lot of people don't realize this, so they don't focus on the main problem here. So that's why I decided to keep it Brown Kids Read, because in the mission statement, it's especially children of color. So that does not mean that nobody, like everybody who's not a person of color, can enjoy Brown Kids Read or participate in our activities, but that just means that we are focusing on the problem.
So what are, as a 13-year-old, 12, 13-year-old getting ready, and although you had run some other businesses, publishing is a different animal. It's a different kind of space. So what are some of the challenges that you faced in trying to get this launched?
Brown Kids Read, the original format was based on our first event. So Jordan and Joelle Hernandez, who have a book called Twin Tales, they were having a book event at a local Barnes and Noble. And they asked me to come on and help them plan this event because I already had my party entertainment business. So when we were working together on it, we had to come up with a title for the event. We called it Brown Kids Read. And on the day, it was phenomenal. We had different authors come in and do book signings. We had a bookshelf with a huge display of diverse titles, story times, crafts. I read an entire book. I memorized the book, and I got my grandma to make me a costume based on the main character, and I did a character performance, and it was amazing overall. So after I saw this, I knew that I wanted to replicate it, and that's the way that I wanted to continue Brown Kids Read. However, once I started doing events, I recognized that I could not compete with the park or the beach or ice cream on Saturday mornings and afternoons when I wanted to hold my Brown Kids Read / Reading Rocks events. That's what we called it at first. So I had to learn how to pivot. And that was a very large challenge for me because I never encountered a situation where something just wasn't working and I had to completely shift the format. So instead of having people come to Brown Kids Read, I turned Brown Kids Read into an online and pop-up bookstore as well called the Brown Reads Bookshelf. So we no longer do events where we have people come, but instead we take the bookshelf to events that already have a population of customers and a population of children. Therefore, it's convenient for everybody and we're able to impact more people. So the largest challenge that I had was having to do that huge pivot because it just wasn't working.
So it sounds like you did your marketing homework as well,
Yes.
which makes a difference. You can have an amazing product, but if it's not properly marketed, and if you don't check the market to know what you need to do, then it just kind of falls.
Yeah, I feel like I did 60 or 70% of the work, but that last 30% was lacking because I knew that my target audience was young mothers. I knew that the children that I wanted to impact, the specific communities, and a really good way to reach out to them were through churches and community organizations and schools. So I did do a lot of marketing there. I just didn't realize, and I had to learn through real life experience that it just wasn't going to work on that day. And it was way more lucrative and convenient to have the Brown Reads Bookshelf at an event where people already are. Because that way I don't have to attract the customers, they're already there. I can greater organize my bookshelf and all those things because I don't have to do a whole setup and breakdown and an entire event space. And it's easier to have volunteers come on the road with me because it's just, you give them a time, you give them a date, and they can come and help out.
Okay, so tell us about this picture that we're seeing.
I love this picture. Um, this was during my first photo shoot. So this is when I got my first professional headshots.
Okay.
And we took this on a college campus. I'm not sure which school it was. It's in New Jersey. But Amir Ballard took my pictures, Pastor Amir, and it's great. He's been taking my pictures since. We've done a couple of photo shoots afterward. This picture, it has a lot of background to it. It took a while to choose which books I wanted to put up with me, which ones had the brightest colors, which one, like choosing between male and female to stagger those books. And the pose was really cute because it wasn't particularly on purpose. My mom suggested that I do my arms outstretched and show like, hey, this is what I do and books are my brand. So that's the background behind this picture.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, Ssanyu, your main objective when you go to presentations, you do workshops, presentations, excuse me, you were a speaker at the New Jersey Education Association. So
Yes.
tell us about your main objective. Now, I know we're talking about getting kids to read, but what is the main crux?
It varies per audience. So I'll give you an example. Last December, well, the NJEA conference was in November and the New Jersey Librarians Association conference was in December, and I attended both as a speaker. For the New Jersey Educators Association convention, I did a presentation called How a Classroom Library Changed My Life. And this is focusing on explaining to educators the importance of having books in the proximity of their students, having books in close proximity of their students. Because in my fifth grade classroom, I had a desk that was right next to the bookshelf, and my teacher had an entire system of checking in and checking out books. And by the end of that school year, I had read every single book on that bookshelf at least once, some of them twice. And she was intentional about providing books that not only gave a diverse perspective, but were just fun and interesting. And I never had a classroom library like that. So being able to talk to the educators about books in close proximity to their students is a very large point of mine. For the NJASL conference, I instead did a presentation about how to create a future of literacy advocates. This is combining a lot more of my experiences with books and authority figures who poured into me through books, and talking to the librarians about, even though you're not in a classroom with these students every single day, you're still in the same building as them. So making sure that they have access to these stories, that it's not just books on a shelf, but maybe you can come up with activities, or maybe you can come up with programs to get them excited about the books that are there. That's also important. And then librarians also have the power to choose which books are in the library. So when they do a new book order, focusing on that diversity, focusing on having that difference in perspective and stories is essential, because those kids are in that building with the books as well. So even though it's not in closest proximity, it's still right there. So when I do talks to middle schoolers and high schoolers, I also do writing workshops. So the writing workshops are based on having them come in and already choosing what core memory they want to focus on. Then I teach them how to structure it into a children's book. So this is a bit of a feeder for my publishing company, Share a Smile Books, because all of the students who participate in this workshop go on a wait list so that we have access to see who we want to publish next. And then for the older high school students, I do a presentation called Creating Your Strategy to Change the World. So this is where I focus on changing the world. Now, we talk about the importance of combining your strengths and interests, and then matching that with a genuine world issue, a niche down issue that focuses on a specific group that's related to you, and combining the two so that you can actually create an initiative that impacts people. So those are the presentations that I do.
Now, I have two questions and I want to remember both. So I'm from a family of 13, and we were extremely poor. I remember we had a couple of books in the house, and one big volume encyclopedia and a Bible story book that my mother would read to us. We would sit, and she created a love of reading in us, although we didn't have much reading material. And neither of my parents had a formal education. Daddy only third grade, my mother only eighth grade, but education was very important.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, she had a subscription to the newspaper. And so how do you encourage parents to be readers? As you said, as you talk to educators, they may not be right with the child, but they have somehow inspired. So how do you help parents to understand that it's important to create readers?
The first thing I do is explain to them the difference between window and mirror books. So in my experience, there are two kinds of books. Window books are stories where you're looking into somebody else's perspective, stepping into their shoes and viewing the world through their eyes. Then mirror books are stories that are the opposite. So you're looking at somebody who reflects you, who you personally relate to, and who has some similarities. Now, window and mirror books are both very important because they expand your empathetic bonds. And parents should want their children to grow up to be understanding and compassionate adults. So explaining these empathetic bonds to them genuinely do have an impact, because when children read stories about people who are different from them, then they are more likely to understand their experience or take a step in that direction. Unfortunately, we have a lot of problems with bullying and lack of compassion and being mean to other people when children are in school, and even some adults who are outside of school. But providing them with these stories at a younger age gives them the opportunity to feel what that person may be feeling. Last year, I read a book called Saints and Misfits, written by S.K. Ali, and it was about a young Muslim girl who is living in an urban area, and we could not be more different. I'm Christian, she's Muslim, she's in an urban community, I'm in a suburban community, she's introverted, I'm extroverted, everything is different. However, when I read this book, I had the opportunity to see what life looks like through the eyes of a teenage hijabi living in an American school system. And I never thought about the world from that perspective. However, now when I meet people who have a similar experience to the main character, her name is Jana, I'm more likely to understand their experience and empathize with them as well. So emphasizing the importance of these empathetic bonds and enhancing their children's social hygiene is very important to me, and I've seen the impact that it has on these parents.
The other question, before I get to the others, is that as a writer myself, I feel like I am always writing. When I'm driving, looking at billboards, or when people are talking, or wherever I'm in other settings, I might write down, article, title of articles, the title of books. So I feel like I'm always writing. Is that how you are? Are you always writing? Are you an always writing writer?
Well, right now I'm always writing because I'm writing scholarships and I just finished my college applications. So every single day I am working on a scholarship essay, quite honestly. But that's been an opportunity for me to explore my creative writing side instead of just writing for children. So now I have to draw on my own personal experiences and life experiences and create it into this 650-word essay that impacts an admissions officer or impacts a scholarship judge. So I have developed my writing so much in the last 6 or 7 months. It's incredible to me, and I can't stop writing. So I'm currently working on my next few books, which are another project that I've been focusing on in terms of writing. So yes, I am always writing.
So with your, I remember when our sons were doing those college applications, and for graduate school and for medical school, and quote unquote, employing me to help them read through. Are you finding that you are learning more about yourself?
Definitely, definitely. Every single time I write a new essay, it makes me stretch my mind a little bit more because I write very creatively. So when I have to illustrate a scene or when I have to make somebody feel what I felt in the moment, I have to take a deep dive into what I actually was feeling during that time. So I am learning more about myself and how to manage my emotions and how to convey that effectively to other people while still being mindful of how they're going to perceive it.
That's very good. So learning how to read the audience, although you're not specifically in front of the audience. That's
Yeah.
that's an amazing skill, and that's something that I've talked to students about in the in the speech classes. So you are doing all these things. As I said, you play basketball. You're in the dance ministry at church. Are you still in New Jersey Orators?
Yes.
Homeschool Honor Society, and just running these businesses, preparing for college. How are you keeping yourself together, and how do you plan to keep managing all of these balls in the air, because you're getting ready to go off to college in a few months?
What's worked for me is putting everything on the calendar. A couple of years ago, I was really not that person who put everything on the calendar, and I saw the negative repercussions of that. So I've changed my ways. But being able to see everything written out and know what I have to do for the day and mentally preparing myself in the morning for what I have to do throughout the course of the day has been very helpful. And understanding that I'm one person and I can't handle everything is also important. So my mom has also been helping me manage that because even though I'm a business owner and I'm an author, I'm still a teen. Well, now I'm not a kid. I'm 18, but 3 months ago, I was a kid and I still have a lot to learn. So making sure that I have good mentors and people who are willing to guide me and help me through the different phases of life has also been important. And then when I'm older, I think I'm still going to write everything down on my calendar, but I'm also going to have more flexibility, which is good because I'm looking forward to being a college student and looking forward to having a world of opportunity there. And all of the schools that I've applied to have very, very good programs programs and have very good opportunities for me to get involved in extracurriculars. So I know that I want to continue Brown Kids Read and Share Smile Books and the Book Junkie podcast and continue writing books. But I also want to dabble in some new things. I know that I'm not going to play basketball in college, but I may do intramural or club. So we'll see about that. But I definitely need to keep writing everything down on my calendar.
So you said you're working on another book, but here's one you've already written. How was this one birthed? Suubi, Ssanyu Smile.
Sorry, you froze a little bit. Can you say the last sentence again, please?
Yes, yes. So I said you are working on another writing, but here's one. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
How was Suubi Sunny Smile birthed?
Suubi Sunny Smile was born from Brown Kids Read. I was doing all these pop-up bookstores and people were always saying to me, you're selling all these other people's books. Where's your book? So at the end of my 15th year, about to turn 16, I went to my mother and I said, can you please let anybody know if they ask me what I want for my Sweet 16 for my birthday, tell them I want them to donate to a GoFundMe so that I can sponsor my first children's book. So for my Sweet 16, I had so much support and so many people donated to Suubi Sunny Smile's fund. And that was how I was able to create Suubi Sunny Smile. The story focuses on dental hygiene, cultural appreciation, and anti-bullying, and it's also modeled after my younger brother. So that little boy in the cover is actually based on his face, which is so cute because he's very adorable. He's 11 now, but he was 9 back then. And he loves being featured in a book. But Suubi Sunny Smile really heavily focuses on being intentional about kindness and going out of your way to speak against mean actions and bullying behavior. So I had my own bullying experience when I was 6 years old. I walked onto the bus on the very first day of school at a brand new school, and a little girl told me that I was too dark to sit next to her. And unfortunately, I was taken aback and I didn't really know how to react to that at first because nobody had been that blatant about dislike before or said anything like that to me before. But thankfully, I knew how to deal with it correctly. I went home and I told my grandmother and told my parents. We had a mediation meeting with the principal and the guidance counselor and the other girl, and we resolved the situation. But I know that a lot of other kids do not know how to handle that, and they don't know how to emotionally grapple with the fact that they're being bullied and that they are being made to feel less than. So Suubi Sunny Smile is my way of confronting that issue, letting them know that they are not alone and that there are ways to get out of the situation.
Well, what I do know about you is that your parents are extremely supportive, but hopefully this book will help other kids because, as you said, some kids just don't know how to handle, adverse situations, whether it's bullying or lack of support educationally. Those things you already have, and those have been great for you and your siblings, your sister and your brother. So tell me, what are you looking forward to when you get to college?
I'm looking forward to living in an urban environment. All of the schools that I've applied to are in Boston, DC, New York, or Philly. So I know that I'm going to end up somewhere that has a lot of hustle and bustle. And because I'm interested in studying broadcast journalism and strategic communications, I am looking forward to talking because that's what I love to do. And my top schools have phenomenal programs in terms of journalism. So I really want to be able to develop those skills. But I'm also looking forward to meeting new people and making new friends because I'm still a homeschooled student. So I don't have that school every single day experience as a teenager. Even though I don't feel like I miss that. It's okay. But I'm excited to go to college and meet new people and experience new things and just go out into the world and grow my individuality.
Well, it sounds like you're in for a wonderful treat. So, Ssanyu, how can people get in touch with you and any of your upcoming events or just
Yeah.
tell us
So
about it?
So for Instagram, my accounts are at Ssanyu Speaks. So that's SSANYU SPEAKS. And then the one for Brown Kids Read is at Brown Kids Read. That is the same for Twitter and Facebook. And then my websites are sanyuspeaks.com and brownkidsread.org. If you have any questions about teenage entrepreneurship or publishing, please send me a DM on @SanyuSpeaks, my Instagram account, because I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. And I have a lot of resources to help you out. If you're a teen or a child who's interested in publishing, go to the link in my Instagram bio. I got you. There's information about Share a Smile Books and information about how you can learn more about teenage entrepreneurship. And I'm currently working on my next 3 books. So I'm working on Chi Chi's Toothy Grin, which is my second children's picture book, should be releasing in late April. I'm also working on a middle grade novel that is also focused on Suubi. So that's him as a middle school student. That should be releasing by the end of this year. And then I also have a teen entrepreneurship handbook that I'm creating that outlines my entire experience as a teenage entrepreneur, all of the mistakes I've made, all the tips that I have, and ways to be successful. So that should be releasing next year as well.
Well, we're looking forward to some TED Talks.
Yes, I want to do that as a college student. Actually, when I am a freshman or sophomore, I want to bang TED Talk off of my goal list.
Yes,
So
yes,
that is part
yes.
of the plan.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Ssanyu. I am so excited. Look, you're an inspiration to not just kids, but for adults as well. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for listening and viewing. Again, I'm Sharon Benjamin, host of Leafless, Not Lifeless. If you have an inspirational story where you are helping others to become productive, they might appear to be leafless, but they're growing as well, just as Ssanyu is helping others. So you can contact me at leaflessnotlifeless@gmail.com. Again, thank you so much for being with me, and I will see you the next time.